Well, my people, we are back. Yes, my Reds, we are back in full effect. This is Liverpool 12 Man Show, and we are going to be talking tonight about a lot about what's going on in the sense of for Sunday's big matchup. It is a big matchup for some, maybe not for others, but I believe it's a big matchup still, despite the fact that we are in sixth place. And it is Manchester City who is in a title run, not ourselves at the moment. But again, if you're watching this on the replay or if you're going to be watching this live, shout out to all of you that are joining and showing the support. Red Armchair Supporter, OG in the house. Big up, big up, big up. Appreciate always. My guys got it on notifications on, and that's what we ask of you simply to do. So a lot of stuff that we have in the pipe work for this year for this channel. So I'm hopeful that we will see some encouraging things for the channel. And also, as always, we appreciate the support of all the OGs that are a part of it. However, this isn't, you didn't hear me to continue to just talk about what we've got coming in the future. What we do have more so in the immediate future is, again, a game against Manchester City. So tonight we're going to talk about pressure. We're not going to talk about panic. I don't think that there's panic in the air currently. A lot of what we have going on for this club isn't exactly panic driven at the moment. There are a lot of narratives out there that could possibly bring about some panic. There are certainly some narratives that could bring about some panic. At least for myself, I find it that they're concerning. At least some of the narratives that are being brought up. Whether it's the PR piece that just happened. That pretty much is, in essence, solidifying the fact that we are going to be carrying on with our coach, not only for the end of the year, certainly for the end of the year. I don't think there's anyone really thinking that there is going to be a switch or a change in management just yet. But possibly this is FSG circling the wagons around Arne Slot and saying that he is going to be our manager for the foreseeable future. So if that's the case, more power to us and to him, and may he continue to get better and continue to push on. We'll see when it comes to the summertime. I think, like, lately I've been doing some introspection of my own self as well with some of the conversations we've been having and some of the conversations I've seen quite a bit on different channels and a lot of stations that are trying to put out a interesting perspective. We've spoken on. I like the fact that on this channel, whether it's Red Hunter Supporter, or it's Hylor, or if it's Trudon, or it's certainly Norm, or Nigel, or any of the sorts. Cedric. When you guys definitely chime in, it is certainly enjoyable to have the conversation start to grow and really become knowledgeable takes, and certainly enlightening ones at that. And one of the takes that we've been really speaking on has certainly been the fact that this team is a different team when it comes to Champions League versus Premier League. And it's a concept that I initially started bringing up. At first, no one really wanted to talk about that part. Everyone was just focused on a lot of the downturn of our team. They blamed it on certain players being not worthy, or going even further with the diagnosis of it. But it was I think short-sighted, and I think it was very much not the intellectual conversation that we have here on this channel. Yeah, I know. I don't know what. Shout out to JK, who makes the thumbnails for us at this channel, and JK is a massive hip hop fan, and he is certainly a hip hop fan from the 90s. They certainly have a 90s, golden era of hip hop 90s vibe going with with the look, with the gold chains and the likes, backwards caps and everything, Run DMC style. Excuse me, deal. But I think it was just an ode to the fact that we are definitely we are spitting bars lately. These guys are definitely spitting bars lately on the pitch. So, but I wanted to get into a couple of things that were being spoken. Like I said, there's been also some really interesting narratives being put out there, and again, it was a case where I wasn't even going to do a show today because I do have something to do in a couple hours actually. But all the same, this game is humongous, massive, and it has implications that are going to definitely factor into who's going to win this title. And there's been some interesting punditry being out there. I saw Liverpool striker Stan Collymore, definitely one of the more talented players for our club. He spoke on about Arne Slot's job security, and I'm going to have a little piece on that about how it comes down to one thing: Champions League qualification, and how if we miss out, the questions get louder. If we get into the Champions League qualifications, which we did. But I mean, if we do get deep into the Champions League, maybe the project gets time. And what makes the conversation more complicated is who Liverpool have brought in and how they were received by those of us in the fan base. Florian Wirtz, Alexander Isak, big fees, big expectations. And according to Collymore, maybe too much adoration was played on them too early in their acquisitions. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I mean, then again, you'll see a little bit more of what I have to say, and I definitely would love to hear what you have to say to the conversation. Shout out to High Lore, big up, HM in the house, got you. But what I was going to say is Liverpool sits 6th in the league. Currently, we are in the Champions League last 16. So so that's good because we're in the top 8. Third place, actually, which was something that was night and day difference to our performances in the league. But we're still alive in the FA Cup, which is fantastic. I think I'm hoping that we could do a double this year, and being that we could do a Champions League run and also an FA Cup performance as well. That'd be fantastic. That would be a massive uptick in the year, and it would make questions start to really become nuanced, in that it would really have to put a lot of those slot outers, the people that are slot out, on notice, as to say, what do you say now? What would be your answer to this if this coach has been able to galvanize his team to get this result in FA Cup, or even in an FA Cup and a Champions League, or vice versa, maybe just a Champions League. But consistency in the league, that's the missing piece, certainly. And tonight we're going to break it down. Slot's pressure points. We're going to talk about dressing room dynamics. We're going to talk about the Premier League's physical shift, I think that's important. I spoke about that earlier, about how this channel and those amongst it, those that make up it, either the panel and even the chat, have been really talking about this element of the Premier League long before it has become a narrative that you hear commonly now. And that is about the shift of the Premier League, the fact that the dynamics and the makeup of this team, our team, Liverpool, and how it fits Champions League more so than it does Premier League. And we're also going to talk about the injury chaos that we're dealing with, which is very menacing situation for us, and the tactical chess match we're going to have with Manchester City and Pep Guardiola and the turncoat Pep Linders. I did call him a turncoat because that's what he is to me. Oh man, some of these things about Pep Linders, I see them on. I see them. I read. I see the interviews. I read the articles and the comments he's making, and it is mind blowing. The absolute 180-degree turn. This is a guy. Pep Linders is a guy that spoke on that he would never go and be an assistant coach for anyone other than Jurgen Klopp. Yet he goes and joins his arch nemesis. He said he would never go and he wouldn't coach another, it wouldn't be a part of another coaching structure in the Premier League if it wasn't Liverpool. He talks about how his children have become scouts and how they're true scousers. Yet for him to go and join Manchester City is absolutely reprehensible. I will say that loudly. For someone that Pep, and I'm saying this to you, Pep Lyenders, I like that. I will say this to you directly, Pep. And this is just, again, something I think is important to underscore. Pep, I am someone that used to not only support you, but defend you. Okay. Defend the fact that you the elements that you brought to the club, the things that you helped keep Jurgen abreast to and made him look outside of the box sometimes when taking on different aspects of the game. I thought it was important because often you're not given a lot of the credit that you deserve when you're a part of this system and part of this club. But for you to go and do what you did is absolutely reprehensible. Man, there's certain teams you could have gone to any club, any team, whether you stayed trying to become a head coach, that would have been something admirable and something that you could have pursued. But you had the failed attempt at RB, and for you to go as far as to join one of our rivals is reprehensible. I'm sorry, but it just is. It just is. If you think that there is angst against players that do so, you can best believe that there's going to be angst against a coach that was a part of one of our errors, a coach that openly called Liverpool his home, that openly said that he is a part of the Liverpool fabric. For you to go and join either a Manchester club or even it is absolutely deplorable. There's so many. There's clubs out there that you would have maybe said, maybe you get a slide or maybe you get a pass, but I just can't do it for the Manchester City, Manchester United. That or one of those two are the two top of my list of absolutely reprehensible. Yes, that's exactly it. Reprehensible is what it is. All right, let's get into it. Off my little rant there. I wanted to talk about Stan Collymore. Again, Liverpool, a Liverpool great, former Liverpool Red, obviously. Stan Collymore didn't sit on the fence when it came to his honesty, and he didn't need to. He definitely didn't need to. Let me see something too. I am going to do something as well. Big up Dara, by the way. Big up. I know he had a long talk. Hi, Laura. He said that he did. I'll put this up and I'll give that to his defense, by the way. He said Pep Linders had a long talk with Klopp. This is Hyler speaking about that. Before he joined Manchester City, he got the okay from Klopp. And frankly, I don't have the same feelings about trainers as I do with players. I get that. But any person that helps engineer the dynamics and structure that is going to go up against our team, but especially when it comes to a coach that has insight on the positives and negatives for certain players or the presence that we utilize in our club, that is something that I can't stand, or those are the reasons why I hold him in the same disregard as I do for um, um, as some do for players. Um, um, still though, I was going to get on this is that Stan Collymore said getting into the top four is non-negotiable. He said that's the line, that's the bar, and I think that's the line, the bar for all of us. Collymore acknowledges something important that we all must acknowledge, and that is Slot inherited change, not continuity. Apparently, that's at least his version of what he says. He had replacements, not additions. There are some differences in my take than what Stan does, but he said the squad adjusting after tragedy, turnover, and transition is what Slot inherited. And he also makes a brutal point about record signings. And that was the more where I focused a lot of my attention to his comments. And what he says is that when you break the British transfer record, expectations are theoretical. They're or aren't theoretical, excuse me, they're immediate, excuse me. And while Liverpool could still win silverware, obviously, I talked about the FA Cup, I talked about Champions League, you know, it's a question of what we do with the opportunities, what these players do with the opportunities. Obviously, Europe remains open. PSG aren't dominant this season, or so it's not like we have that. What is one of our coaches' main stumbling blocks being PSG and the way that they play football. The FA Cup is still alive, but the league is the measuring stick for this team, obviously, in how we do things domestically. And that's where this gets really interesting. And that's the dressing room. Collymore questions how early fan adulation of Wirtz and Isak may have landed eternally. And he thinks that this is his quote. He said, "I wonder what Mo Salah and Roger Van Dijk feel about this, about the way that people were lamenting over these players." And I don't know if that's a throwaway. I don't even know. I don't know if that's a throwaway comment, but I definitely think that for you to think that the hierarchy in this club can't handle new players is a question mark. I know some have put Mohamed Salah as being such, one of those players that doesn't like the idea that Florian Wirtz is the heir apparent or already the new king in some people's minds. Follymore, excuse me. But Liverpool historically, and this is why I think players like Jacquet and other players like Rio even have chosen Liverpool. And that is historically Liverpool makes stars. We don't necessarily take already made stars and bring them to our club. We make superstars, okay, at this club. And I think the one thing we don't do is crown those stars or crown those players automatically on arrival. They grow into their stardom. They grow into the players that they become, world-class players that they become. And Collymore tried to hint at this by saying praise arrived before proof. Social media crowned our kings early, and that the established leaders in the locker room may have felt disrespected. Not angry, not toxic, but protective of their image and their I don't want to say brand, but their image, and maybe even ego. But at Liverpool, you have to earn that. That's what he says, at least, and I agree. You have to earn the respect of the teams or of the players, or the fan base, and that's what you see. And I think what's unique about Liverpool is that we tend to be a club that tends to give the benefit of the doubt, give a landing strip or even a landing strip, a runway for these players to take off from. And that's important. That's really what matters to me. And if Wirtz and Ekitike and Isak are going to work long term, I think Collymore's belief is simple. They don't need to replace leaders. They just need to become leaders on this club. That's at least my perspective. whether it takes your Dominic Szoboszlais, who were very much accosted in the early stages of their careers here. I think that now people have warmed to Dominic Szoboszlai to the point where some are calling him the future captain of this team. I think that players like your Wirtzes and your Aketikes, they need to continue to do the same work and continue to have the same amount of leeway to be able to become the great players I truly, truly believe they're becoming. And it is unique. It is very unique to see this presence because we've seen this presence before. Whether it was Gerard and Owen, or it was Gerard and Torres, or whether it was like these combinations, have been always fantastic to see, and be a part of. So I think that it's a fantastic time to be a Liverpool fan, despite the hardships that we're going through, in the sense of our form in the league. And it's been tough. It's been tough being a Liverpool fan, I think, primarily because quite often we don't see a lot of the inner battling that we do with our team, and it is something that we definitely need to coerce. And I think, oh, look at this! Look at here, we got Dara in the house. I'm gonna bring Dara in. He's got the green kit on too, by the way. Big up, Dara.
How you doing, 12? How you doing, chap?
Big up. Doing well. Did everything go well with the move? I unfortunately don't have a book, so I was hoping that everything went well with the move.
I'm still in the process of that, but I thought I would model my 52nd shirt, Liverpool shirt, that I got over Christmas. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Is that kit now top 5 for you in your?
I would say definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I really love the stripes on the here we go, on the sleeves.
On the sleeves, yeah, definitely. And you got the long sleeve too.
Yeah, I've always liked long sleeve shirts. I always have. So that's just me. But I've got plenty of short sleeves. But
sure.
Anyway, how are you? How's this Phoenix pseudo summer treating you?
Pseudo summer is treating me okay. I am going to be going to the Open today, as you know about the Open. So
that's the waste management, yeah.
Yep. It's a PGA Tour event, so it's gonna be good. I'm not an avid golfer. Don't get it twisted. Not yet, at least.
Right.
I'm working on my game. I'm one of the best miniature golfers you'll ever come across. How about that, though? So,
right. Well, you should have contacted me before, because I've got lots and lots of contacts with Scottsdale PD. I could get you some free tickets. But anyway, that's something for you to bear in mind.
Well, yeah, definitely. I was going to. We were just talking about Collymore's comments and the likes. And because he had some, I don't know if you heard the entire discourse of what I had to say, but Collymore basically was saying that maybe us as fans put too much praise on these Liverpool players before they actually had the time to make their emergence the way they are, and that some in the locker room, your Virgils, or in particular your Mohamed Salahs, we're going to have issues with being kind of like looked over, in the sense, with the praise and admiration that these players were getting before they even did anything for the club. Do you agree with that?
To some extent, but at the end of the day, if it's from a fan's perspective, you want the fans to idolize the players, and I think it's a matter of a balance, whether the players themselves can stay balanced in their heads and not believe all the hype. But they need it, certainly, because when you have fans that, rightly or wrongly, they give praise to certain players, they need that when they're in the stands. So
they do.
It's just that and this is why, excuse me, all the players have life coaches to teach them how to deal with that. And
Okay.
that level of maturity should not transcend beyond a huge ego, because we see
Hmm.
players that have huge egos, whether they're deserved or not. And that is the issue for me. As for Stan Collymore, I remember when he was playing for Fulham, I believe, and I think he played for Southend United. Um,
Hmm.
but that was back in the late 90s, 99, I believe. He's an interesting character.
Hmm.
And you can go on about, again, I've heard a lot about what Slot was saying about trying to improve the style of play. And
Right.
people have commented on what he said. Well, it really doesn't matter what you say, it's irrelevant. You do your talking on the pitch. We know that.
Right. Yeah, you do.
Um,
You do.
and people can criticize Slot for saying this and saying that. It really means nothing to me.
Right. Right.
If you can see it with your own two eyes, then fair enough. I'm happy with it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. A lot. Okay. I do have. Let me go right into this next segment, because that's basically what Slot. You brought up Slot, and it's a good segue into what I was going to bring up next, because Slot on style, substance, and the Premier League shift basically is what he spoke on. In that round table, I think is a lot what people are trying to reference. A lot of their points, or a lot of their criticisms, is from what he had to say in that round table. Because there's been a bunch that he said in press conferences that have definitely sparked people the wrong way. It's kind of, a lot of his comments have not necessarily really hit home the way that maybe Klopp's have in his press conferences.
right.
But Arne Slot admitted something this week that caught my attention, at least, and honestly, it should, I think, catch your attention out there. And that is, the Premier League has changed. We talked about that quite a bit. He said, and it has changed massively, in my opinion. That's the reason why I've been speaking about it since the beginning of the season. And it's the reason why I think we have an Arsenal doing as well as they are, because they are the most acclimated to the new, not the new, but the return of this presence of physical, very set piece oriented football that we see in the Premier League. So Slot says the physical evolution of the league caught him by surprise. And I would say he's not really wrong on this. He said set pieces, game killing tactics, time wasting, disruption over rhythm. He says, if you don't, this is a quote, he said, if you don't play good football, it's almost impossible to achieve something sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting, because Slot isn't rejecting results. He's obviously acknowledging that the fact that we have to play better, and we have to obviously get better results. But he's warning against the shortcuts. And that's what he's saying by saying Liverpool's identity should remain that we press high, that we play out from the back, that we never time waste, that we have control through our football phases. And opponents are forcing something else against us, and that is, this is his quote, if that style is forced on us, we must become good enough to change it back. I think that was a powerful statement, by the way. I think it was a powerful statement, because I know low blocks have definitely been a kryptonite for our team. And that's dating back for time, but especially even during Klopp's era, we saw low blocks tended to be our kryptonite. And the next step is Arne is admitting that he admits Liverpool may have leaned too far towards technique at the expense of physical dominance, especially at set pieces. And I will say my optimism to that is, if you're technically gifted, players adapt to physicality. You don't just survive, you gain an edge. And why I think that there are parts about what he says that are correct, but I also think that there are parts about the players that we jettisoned from our team that were a part of that edge, that physicality that he's talking about. And I'll ask you, do you agree with Slot's stance that good football is essential for sustainable success, even if it costs short-term results? Do you think that's a good assessment?
Well, I mean, it depends on what your definition of sustainable success is. Again, it's
Mhm.
a fine balance. You can keep winning the league over and over again, but you can paper over the cracks when you can see that we're not playing good football. It's not the kind
Right.
of football you really want to see. So, if it's about trophies, then yeah, possibly. But a lot of these things that he's talking about um, are so changeable. I remember, and I'm sure you do.
Mhm.
When was it? 2, 3 years ago, when who was it who was talking about it? I think it was Stevie Nicol and Alan Hansen. When Liverpool brought
Okay.
in they brought in a coach to basically enhance the ability of players to incorporate the long throw. He
Oh, the
thought at
set
that
piece
time,
coach. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. And Steve Nicol was not about, yeah,
No,
he
he
was
thought
not
it
a
was a
fan.
gimmick. He thought it
Yeah.
was a gimmick, and look where we are now. Would he say the
Yeah.
same thing? Well, knowing Stevie, probably he would. But
Mhm.
all these things are changeable,
Mhm.
so it just makes me laugh through the different generations of this, that, and the other. That it's really different. It's not. We've always had the low block. The only difference is in terms of breaking it down, we always had a centre forward, whether it's you want to go back to Heskey or Crouch or others, we had options to do that.
Mhm.
And that's what I like. Of late, we've not had that option.
Mhm.
It's all been about pace. So, but in answer to your question, it can it be done? Yes, I think so. I honestly don't believe in this excuse of physicality. I don't.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
you go into any kind of job, you should be prepared. You know what you're going into. It's not like these people are anathema to football. It's the first thing everyone knows about the physicality of the Premier League. So you can
Mhm.
get yourself up to speed and there shouldn't be an issue. If there's a constant change, then I understand. So if you're
Mhm.
going from slot football to another manager, and let's say, no, I don't want to mention his name, but I will, Roy Hodgson, then yeah, I
Mhm.
get it. But
Mhm.
if there's a certain level of stability and you can play, let's say, stylistic football to some extent, because I think everyone would agree we have played really well in the Champions League.
Yes.
We have played stylistic football.
Mhm.
It's just our
Minus
ability,
one game. Minus one game. I will
minus
agree.
one game, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's there. We just need that consistency in the Premier League, and
Mhm. Maybe
so
two. But
it's a mishmash. So
right.
and I don't know if you heard, but I was reading. I think it was Sky Sports. I think they were talking
Mhm.
about Liverpool being odds on to win against City on the weekend. So
Hmm.
who would have thought that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, City has. I mean, that's the thing about this league this season. I know that last season, especially, people talked about this being, oh, the Premier League's the worst. This is the worst title defense and this and that, and or not title won by Liverpool, but they were basically trying to say that the league was the worst it had been in years.
Yeah,
And
that's always going to happen when your team is not winning. So yeah,
right, exactly. That's where I was like, okay, I get it. Your teams, the people that are saying that are Manchester United fans and your Arsenal fans and the likes, However, that season was a year that, obviously, the Conference League and Europa were both won by Premier League teams. There was two teams in the Europa finals actually. We had Arsenal do have one of the best runs they've had in recent memory for themselves in the Champions League, and even ourselves got knocked out by the eventual champions of the tournament in the Champions League. So it goes to say that there is something about it. But I will also say that because the league's ability, and this is what I'm talking about, the lower end, the lower table teams, there's with the buying power, or at least the marketability of the Premier League, because there's so much money being sunk into these teams now or into this league. A lot of these lower end teams that normally wouldn't be able to compete are able to compete, not necessarily with always with the top six. I'll get that. The big six, different story. They make normally, 10 times sometimes what in revenue that some of these other clubs do. However, they are still able to compete with those other teams that are going to be in Europa or in the Champions League, but yet they're the third or fourth or the second place team in those other leagues. You tend to see that quite a bit. So
Yeah, you do. And when I look at our success in the Champions League, yeah, I think we were kind of unfortunate against PSG last season. We easily could have gone on and won the Champions League, but I often wonder if we are so successful in cup competitions, why did we continue to play weakened teams in the domestic cup competitions? I there was just no, in my mind, I couldn't reconcile with that. I don't know. I know we know Klopp did it, and he got away with
mhm.
playing the youngsters, and we won a cup. But
One time, I will not to cut you off. I was going to interject. One time he did have to play. It wasn't his choice because
yeah,
that was when we were in. I think we were going to the Super Cup, I believe, or it was something along those lines. We had to play when we played. We had to play against. I think it was Villa that we had to play against, and we had to
right.
bring a team of all youth academy players basically because we were in so many different competitions that year that
Right.
there was no room on the calendar to make it feasible for us to play both those games.
No, I understand that, but
Mhm.
as you well know, there's been games where you're to not even have these players on the bench. They don't even travel to the grounds.
Right.
To me, it's just absurd.
No, I
Um,
agree. I agree. The FA Cup is a good acknowledgement of that. I thought it was reprehensible what we did when we went against Plymouth, for instance.
I,
You
I
know,
I was hoping you would never mention Plymouth, but okay.
yeah, that was a. I mean, the team that was on the pitch certainly should have been able to beat Plymouth, albeit, but to have no players on the bench that really had any bit of a lift. There weren't that many players on the bench that you could say, "Oh,
No, they
that's
were at home
where."
watching it on telly.
Right, exactly,
They probably switched
exactly.
off, thinking,
Yeah,
"No, I can't watch this anymore."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. So,
Yeah, and that's for an FA Cup. No, I mean, like it's one thing I know people don't rate the League Cup on the same level as an FA Cup, but I mean, like I know that there was a time when the FA Cup was one of the most prestigious awards in England, much less maybe even in Europe.
and the oldest, and I put
Yes.
it down, and I put it down to a cultural difference. I don't
Mm,
think Slot realized. He may have just gone with the hype that yeah, it's not as significant as it used to be. Um,
mhm,
but I think he overlooked the historicity of it. I mean, it's
mhm.
a massive thing.
It is.
Um,
It is certainly.
so
Yeah, no, and I agree with that completely. Like I said, he made the comment about the League Cup or the domestic cups are opportunities for our youth academy players to get play, get minutes, and have a pathway towards seeing senior play. And I was like, I understand that they should be incorporated in the pursuit, but I think if anything, my personal opinion was that um, the League Cups are especially an opportunity for your squad players, for your fringe players to possibly get some real form and some real, movement in their legs, so that they can actually produce or be when called upon during the season, when injuries hit or whatever, or maybe just for rotation, they're able to bring some real form into the fold, as opposed to not playing for weeks or if not months other than the training pitch, and then suddenly have a game and be
yeah,
thrown
absolutely.
together from
Absolutely.
that group.
I agree, and you have to incorporate those players, but not at the expense of a loss. So
Right.
when you go all out, then that's silliness.
Yeah.
And I
He's taken a different approach this year, though. He's definitely taken a
well, he's
different
had
approach.
to. He's had
Yeah.
to. You know, with our league
Yeah.
results, I mean, it's not like he was being proactive. He's looking around thinking, "Where's my next win going to come from?" That's the
Do
reason
you
why he's
think?
doing it.
Do you think that if we were hypothetically, if we were in this in this title race still actively in this title race, and we've obviously performed well in Champions League, but if we're actively in this title race, do you think that he would have been on some let's play the youth academy players more
100%.
in? Okay.
100%. History tells me that, and there is no way that he would have gone for a treble or even a double. If we were top or within a few points of whoever it may be, City, Arsenal, yeah, there is no doubt. Because he's
Oh,
always talking about resting players anyway, but that gives him a perfect excuse to do it. And
hmm.
I don't know that whether he even knows, but some of these cup competitions give you a pathway to Europe too. So
They do. They do. FA Cup, yeah. League Cup, even. Yeah.
there's no guarantee we're going to get top four. So you can't just take him so lightly. You can
Mhm.
take him lightly, but not the way he's been doing it. So, but I don't want to focus too much on the cards. Just one of those
Mhm.
things that's really annoyed me with him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in answer to
Agreed.
your question, absolutely, he would have played obscure players that you and I have not heard of.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I saw Hyler putting in the chat here. He said he saw Josh Abe or a B or is Abe, I believe is, but he's the 15-year-old, a 15-year-old. He did sign with Trent's brother, so that's a little bit of a concern as his agent. But he was included in the training. He's been included actually not only today, but he's been included in a bunch of training sessions as we prepare for the Manchester City match. Now, will he be a part of the upcoming group? That I don't know. That's maybe a stretch. But then again, our he says he gets that he's a prodigy, but he looks on this as theater display. Um, I a 15-year-old's not going to be called on as a real option. I mean,
No.
we rarely see Rio sometimes get opportunities,
Yep.
much less Trent Neone. To think that we're going to see a 15-year-old as an option to get playing time in one of the biggest games of the season will be a difficult one to imagine. Big up Mark A, by the way. Big up Mark A. I know that Chelsea and Man City are both interested, very much so, in Josh Abe, and that is something to be concerned about. I think he's a talent, though. I've seen some of the youth academy games, and I've seen the fact that he scored actually, I believe, in the last outing for the youth academy, and he is rapid. He's a rapid youngster, and considering he's only 15 and playing with the with these under 21s, that's exceptional, absolutely exceptional.
Yep.
I'm going to get into this injury update and some squad reality checks for you here with our. I was going to say the injury news ahead of City. Let's be honest, isn't exactly as any bit more, cheery than it is for Liverpool, but for us, it is definitely has its grim moments, and that is Jeremy Frimpong is out, obviously. Maybe another week or two before we see him return. Hopefully so. Fully recovered, by the way. Hopefully. Alexander Isak is nowhere near returning immediately. They're still looking at hopefully March as being a return for our center forward. And then you have Connor Bradley and Giovanni Leone. We all know that those are long-term and season-ending injuries that we don't expect to see. And I would like to put to rest. There was some talk about Bradley not being his injury being so grim that he would be out until 2027. That I don't think is accurate, simply because he is a player that is looking to possibly, this is a long shot, but possibly he has not ruled out World Cup. So he is a player that obviously and honestly wants to help his team, go on to the World Cup and perform in it. So he is shooting. That is his ideas and his hopes and bars. But the only flicker of hope is Joe Gomez. Even then, let's be honest, it's Joe Gomez coming back from a hip injury. So it's bench level at best. Slot confirmed it by saying he won't be available to start, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to be available to be on the bench as an option to fill in some late minutes if we can do that. And I think that matters. Liverpool simply don't have defensive depth right now, obviously, and it forces Slot into compromises. We all know that a lot of us aren't really that bullish on Damas Boslai playing right back, for instance, or even Curtis Jones or the likes, or some might even not like even Endo playing there. Unfortunately, Gomez is often injured, and that's a concern. That is a certain concern. But we're just all about the result, obviously. And what it tells us about where the squad is in its development is where we're trying to get a read against City at Anfield. So I'm going to ask you this. How much should Liverpool's injury crisis factor into the judgment of Slot's season? Like, should it be utilized or used as a reasoning to say, well, I know that he didn't perform well, for instance, this season, but weigh in the injuries he had to navigate. Should that be a major factor? How or what kind of level of inclusion should that have in his evaluation for his season as coach?
Was that question for me?
Yes, that question.
For me, I would say about 15%, because there were many times when we had pretty much a full strength team and we still played poorly, and it made no difference. The only difference was that there was an excuse. Of course, there always is: match fitness or adapting to this position, or the tragedy of Diogo Jota or whatever. We had enough games with enough starters, and there was no difference. So 15%.
That's 15%. Tell us if you guys are in the chat. Do what Dara just did in the chat. What percentage would you say when you're, if you're on the board and you're trying to evaluate if this coach deserves another shot or something along those lines? Tell me, what percentage of the evaluation would you have that be? Is it 20, 15%? Like Dara, is it 20%, 30%? Is it 50%? Or maybe more. Just wondering what percentage you think it is. Hyler is saying, what injury crisis is at Liverpool? The truth is that we are in a better position than most clubs in the Premier League. Mark A says he's at 20% of the conversation would be dictated towards the injuries we had to navigate. That's a very intellectual conversation to have, because I know that there are those that look at some of Jurgen Klopp's performances, for instance, but yet we have to recognize the fact that we had major injuries. The year that we lost all of our center halves, for instance, and not only did we lose our center halves, we lost our talisman in Virgil van Dijk early in the season. And then we had to navigate those waters without any real utilizing players out of position until the January window. And then we went out and we got makeshift role players. And then we also utilized Natty Phillips. And shout out to Natty Phillips. I like Natty Phillips, by the way.
Me too. I'm a big fan. And also shout out to Harry Wilson.
There you go.
We should never have sold him.
Wow, I was not expecting that. Okay, interesting. There is some talk about trying to get him back on the team, actually. Would you be one of those people, I guess?
I've always liked him. I thought we sold him too early. He's kind of a Welsh wizard, and he's showing his mettle. I don't think he got the opportunities that he needed. Somewhat like Harvey Elliott. But
yeah, I was going to say, he reminds me, his role with the club reminds me a lot of Harvey Elliott.
Right.
Like as a player that would have probably been a squad player, but certainly but when given the chance, could be an influential player on the right day.
Absolutely. And if he came back to us, I can tell you this, he'd get more chances than Chiesa. Chiesa has more chance of playing at right back or left back. So,
Oh wow,
according
Chiesa,
to Slot,
Chiesa with
not
the
me.
straight shot. Pick up, JK. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Hi there. Blessed,
I,
bro, and also hope you're cool, bro.
Yeah.
how you doing, JK?
I'm all cool, bro. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Since our conversation, still in the process of moving. You know how fun that is.
That's it. That's the way of life, you know. Bit of a
Yeah,
headache.
it's going to be interesting because all my movers are police. So I've got people from well, you wouldn't know, but Chandler PD, 12th will know, Phoenix PD, and Scottsdale, and the marshals, and it's crazy. People are going to think there's going to be an ice raid at my house, whereas we're actually we're only moving. So
Big up, Andy. Big up, Andy. Good to see you. Mark A says Wilson never had the pace for a clock winger. I agree. I understand where you're coming from. Some could argue that that Elliott doesn't have the pace.
you took the words out of my mouth. I would say the same thing.
Yeah. For this reason, I would say that our planning wasn't at the top level. Okay. Andy, what is the Simicast Roma loan contract? What is that you want to speak on? You can always add that to the conversation. And we can speak on it if it's, as long as it's something that you want to talk about. But JK, I am saying to you that should Slot, we were talking about Slot. We've been talking a bit about Slot. Not negative, nothing, just being right down the middle, being moderate with our conversation. And that is, there was this question that came up, and it was brought up by Collymore about the players. It's brought up about, some of his comments that he's made and likes. And I even, oops, he's not back yet. Excuse me. I'll even add, let me see if I can add this this one comment. And I wanted to get your interpretation of what this comment says as well. Give me 1 second. Let me bring up the comment, or at least the picture. About the 1 second. Of course, I got to find it now. But it was basically about it is a comment that he made about how we're supposed to that's the word I'm looking for, how we should utilize our players, and how it's more important about, it's like he wants to bring out good football, entertaining football, basically, is what he says, something along those lines. Let me see if I can find, of course, now that I need it, I can't find where I put the photo. Give me a second. Sorry. Apologies here.
Hi there, Red.
But basically, I was just going to ask, should Slot compromise tactically because of injuries, or should he double down, for his tactical pursuits of saying, Donis Basilai, play right back for us? Should he compromise tactically and utilize maybe a Ramsey, for instance, at right back, which some of us do think he should opt for?
Well, when you look at the opposition, on Sunday, you don't really want to test Ramsey at right back there when you had other alternative oppositions to do that in. So I mean, he's not going to really do that against Man City if he ain't doing it, say, against a Sunderland or someone,
This was the
photo. Should have done it earlier.
Right, that's my point, though. So maybe he should have done it earlier. This was the quote that he gave. It said, as a manager, you can win the league, you can win the Champions League, you can win an FA Cup or a League Cup. But the biggest thing you can win is that you can play the nicest football to watch. That was Arne Slot speaking on the Reds Round Table on the Liverpool YouTube channel. And basically, it's interesting that he made this quote. And why I say it's interesting is because his football has been anything but nice to watch. And it is something
except in the Champions League.
Except in the Champions League. I agree. But his football has been tough, has been a really tough watch in the Premier League. And what do you take from this comment? You can tell me. You can start, Dara, and then we'll let JK weigh in too.
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that. It's all down to how the players. What's nice to watch is a winning scoreline. So I think he's losing or getting lost for the wood and the trees. He's getting those mixed up, and he can't see where we need to go. The style will come. I just wanted to allude to what JK was saying, if I could quickly, about the right back position. Do we have a chance of winning the Premier League? I think the answer is no. What do we have to lose playing Ramsey at right back? We don't have anything to lose. We're probably not I don't care what Sky Sports says, but we're not probably expected to win that game against City, but you never know. I would rather see Ramsey there. I think we have more chance of playing someone like Dom in the middle to win the game rather than have Dom at right back. So I just wanted to mention that because, I mean, if there was one point in it, I would say, yeah, we could compromise playing one of our strongest players and stick them at right back, even though we don't need to. But we're not. We're way off. We have no chance. We have no consistency. Let's just play Ramsey now, build him for the future, and next season we're going to have an accomplished, hopefully, right back. So let's do it now when we're not in the Premier League. But in terms of those comments, I think it's I know it's been mentioned before. It's his second language, and I think he's very articulate. I think he's just trying to portray something to the fans to appease them, and it's just typical rhetoric. There's nothing really behind it, because the true fans know all we care about are the results. If we win ugly, we win ugly. We know that we can play some exceptional football. We just want to see more of it, and we haven't seen it this season. So,
yeah, I can understand saying that. Lone Sheep says it's been an easier watch over the last couple of games, considering we have to get top 4 and we're in the second half of the season. We have to go for it. The best way to do that is to attack. Andy says Dom or Frimpong at right back. How do those comments rub you, JK? What is that? What is something that you get from those comments?
I don't really understand the comments, because when you look at the comments as a manager, you can win the league and the Champions League, and you can win the FA Cup or League Cup. But the biggest thing you can win is that you can play the nicest football to watch. Has he been doing the nicest football to watch? Not really. So what's he winning?
Just mention this. Back in the 90s, Newcastle played some great football. What did they win? Everyone loved to watch Newcastle under Keegan and then Hullet, but it was never sexy football. Would those Geordies have preferred them to play not so nice football and overturn those infamous 4-3s against us? Of course they would. So it's all contextual. Sorry, JK.
I always say,
so do you think that they would have said that they would have rather won ugly rather than
100%.
Of course, because for me, the first things first, the 3 points. The cherry on top is if we played it nicely to get them 3 points. You know what I mean? Because if we twisted it the other way around, we played great. but we fucking lost.
Right.
So for me, first things first, it's always the 3 points.
Yeah,
because last season,
absolutely. No, sorry, JK. You argue about style when you can afford to.
When you can afford to, bang on, exactly that.
And when you can afford to is when you're winning games. When you're losing games, forget about style.
Yeah, no one cares. No one cares when you got battered, but you play beautifully. Who cares? So I'm always 3 points first, and after that, because if you get the 3 points every game, you won the league. But if you play great all season, but you've drew them all, it don't really matter. So first things first is that because last season Arne Slot wasn't great in his style of play and stuff, but he got the job done. Hence why no one moaned, we didn't play great football last season.
Right.
So it's always for me, it's always the 3 points in every game. Style of play is definitely the added cherry on top of the cake. Top scorers, all that. As he set up 3 goals in the game, but we lost 4-3.
Right. Well, I'll play devil's advocate here and argue though. Could you argue though that I understand style of play, win and losses is the big difference. Obviously I agree with that completely. But could you not argue though that at least if you do have a style of play that is not necessarily just entertaining to watch, but at least is progress, like you can see that you are doing, you're putting in the work, that there is something to build on, that maybe that could be the process of establishing a team that not only gets the confidence to move on, to figure out, because like, for instance, you could argue that our style of play was phenomenal our first go around in the Champions League where we lost, but yet but the bottom line is we lost. Okay, and I know that is obviously the determining factor in whenever someone has an argument about, oh, Klopp is this or Klopp is that, or this team was only such a level or to a certain level. However, if you do listen to some of the players, a lot, despite the fact that they did lose games like the way they did, or lost that particular game the way they did, they at least were able to build on that. They were able to build upon the fact that they were playing good football. It was just about getting that winning character in you, that you can take it to the next level. At least that way, the football, the tactics, the fundamentals are all there. But now it's about getting that winning edge, that winning character, that winning characteristic in you. And then once you can do that, you can not only play good football, but you can also play winning football. That's what I was saying. At least that's just an argument, I would say. And even with those Newcastle teams that you're talking about, if they could have gotten that winning element into as a characteristic, that mentality monster that we've talked about so often with the clubs of Jurgen Klopp's past, if you can get that element into you, then maybe everything. Then you got the perfect complement of everything together. But I understand what you're saying. I was just saying, could that be another argument though?
Could I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead.
I 100% agree. And we've seen that with JK will remember the Tottenham teams of the late 80s, certainly the 90s. Very attractive football. We've seen it with teams like even Forest last season, but that's only sustainable for a certain period of time, because you can see, and we're seeing it with United, it's only sustainable in terms of the results you get. And when you're not getting the results, you can't keep falling back on that. So if you can juxtapose that with some crucial wins like United got against Arsenal and so on and so forth, then yes. But the teams I've alluded to, we see it with Brighton. They play some very attractive football. Bournemouth too. But it's only sustainable if you keep pushing towards the top. And we're seeing it now with Villa. So, but no, very valid point. I agree.
I wouldn't go as far as to say Forest was entertaining, but I get what you're saying though.
I mean, compared to the Forest that I was used to watching in the League One, Championship.
Okay, I get what you're saying. It's it's similar. I guess it's similar to like the case of Burnley. I would put that as an example. Burnley under Company, by the way, is what I'm speaking on. And Burnley under Company, when he brought that team up, he did not compromise. He could have taken the team and made them into a team that was pragmatic and didn't want to like necessarily push the envelope and play the same football they're playing in the championship. And albeit maybe they just didn't have the components to necessarily perform to a Premier League level the way that they were performing in the championship. But Company was adamant that he wasn't going to change his approach. He was going to continue to go out there and play the way he is, and they did not get results. But yet, by doing so, when they did go back down to the championship, they continued to play the same in the same fashion that they had played, that year that they got relegated, and even the year before that, where they were one of the best teams in championship history, practically, and they were able to get back up again. Sometimes maybe it's connected to talent too, as well, but. I don't know. I'm speaking from a devil's advocate portion of it. I'm not disputing that the comments that you said. I think your comments are all spot on too. So big up, Eric in the house. Glad to hear that you're doing well. And big up to any of those that are joining us right now, or even joining us by watching this on replay. Certainly appreciate all the interaction you can bring to the channel by leaving your comments after the show. But let's go with a tactical preview for this game, and bring this quote down. And this matchup feels different for a lot of different reasons. I think there's obviously it's a matchup that has two teams that are in two different places league-wise. It's a matchup that has Liverpool managing a decline and hopefully a possible rebound that are trying to build momentum. And Wirtz, you have your Wirtzes and your AKTKs are creating dynamic duos. Salah, who I think Salah is going to be able to eventually show what he can bring to this club. Is there a long-term path for Salah with this club? Let's be honest, the guy is in his mid-30s or closing in on his mid-30s. Eventually, you have to allow for even your legends to go on and be legends elsewhere, if in considering the levels that we must keep. If they're not willing, that is, if they're not willing to take on new responsibilities or new placements in the club. But the midfield dynamic is everything with this club. I think that one of the major reasons why we won the league last year wasn't because of our front line. It was primarily because of our midfield. McAllister must control rhythm without killing the tempo. Gravenberch must break through City's first press and continue to do his razzle dazzle with the spins and his carries of the ball. And then Damis Szoboszlai. If we're not going to have Damis Szoboszlai, who I think is likely going to be inverted to a fullback, if he is going to be with us in the City struggle in the midfield, I'm hoping he can offer late surges against City that cause them to really struggle. Look, this midfield that City have is not a midfield that is the feared midfield of before. I'm just going to say that openly and honestly. I don't think it's a midfield that we have any issues with or should have issues with if we bring our A game. City's still going to try to punish us with mistakes, but the aura I think that they had with the Rodris and the likes and the KDBs, that aura is not exactly existent as it used to be. So I'm going to ask the panel this. Does this feel like a moment Liverpool should just all-out attack, or should they rather try to manage the game, control the game against City? And that is a tactical question, obviously, that only Slot will be able to answer. But in your opinion, what would you do tactically against City? Would you try to all out attack, or would you try to manage the game and try to pick your points, pick your spots? JK, or JK's on mute, so I'll go to you first, Dara.
All out attack is not the option. I would go with just playing the same way. The first half has been our nemesis, and I don't know how many games people have watched of Liverpool at home, but it's no longer a fortress. So I think we need to be prudent in the first half, but still be offensive, but not all out attack. So pretty much doing the same thing. And we all know City have issues at the back. However, so do we. So let's not say, oh, it's all about City's defense. It's our defense too. I agree with your comments about midfield, and that's critical. We get sliced open too often. But what your question presupposes is who's playing where, because we can't go all attack if we've got Dom at right back.
Right.
So, there's a number of moving parts there. If I know what the starting 11 is going to be, then I can say, yeah, this is where we can exploit certain players. But we don't know that. So I don't even know who's going to be in our back line. So that's going to be an issue. But I would just say, don't be too conservative, and but go for it to some extent. So I know it's a vague answer. And I just wanted to address quickly what you said about Mo. I think there are three components to that very good question. So do you want Salah as a player for the future? Do you want him as a figurehead, a legend in terms of financial income? Yeah. Or, well, the main thing is, what does he want? But Mo as a player, if it's just about as a player, yeah, he's not going to want a limited role, and that's what he faces. So the future is not great for him, in my opinion.
I don't know where he finds a real predominant role on a team that is challenging for major silverware.
He doesn't.
And I think that's the reality of this. This the reality of what he is pressed with. I would argue this, Dara, and that is, I heard an interview, for instance, about the other number 8, Steven Gerrard. Okay,
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he said honestly in an interview that, for instance, if he had known that Jurgen Klopp was going to be taking over for Brendan Rodgers, he would have stuck it out, because Brendan Rodgers had told him that he's going to have a more limited role with the team, that he was going to, he was going to have to sacrifice some of his game by going into positions that maybe had him further back than his usual, pronounced forward positioning in the attack. And he said openly, if he had known that Jurgen Klopp was around, he would have gladly taken on a different role. He would have sacrificed his role just so he could have been a part of a Jurgen Klopp team, part of that emergence of what Jurgen Klopp brought to this club. I wish that the team had consulted with him, told him that light and such. Phew.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Didn't want to sneeze in everyone's face. Sorry about that. Man, I was getting the tickle. Maybe that was, sometimes when you're talking about someone and they know you're talking about them, you get the sniffs.
It's the rainy and cloudy weather that we're experiencing here in Phoenix.
Yeah. It's picking up a lot of like I don't have allergies, but it's definitely picking up on my sinuses, certainly. But that's what I was just trying to get across, is that maybe you have a situation where you can have a conversation, maybe not through Arne Slot, because I know that the relationship is a little bit strained with that relationship. But if you have a Luis Enrique, someone that's well regarded, and well appreciated, or if maybe even if you have another Liverpool, I consider him a Liverpool legend. Some people don't. I think Alonso is a legend for some, but he's obviously a part of that Champions League winning team. But also, you have a case where you could have another legend be able to speak to another legend in the sense of saying, what is going to be your defined role, as in despite the fact you think despite you not being a everyday starter, there's still an important role you can play with this team. A very important role you can play with this team. A spot starter, depending on the teams that we go up against, you could be a starter in certain circumstances, but you could certainly will be a utilized weapon off of the bench for this club. And for right now, especially during our injury situation, you are going to be called on to be possibly that second striker for whatever need we have it for this season. So that's just my take. I did a piece about it yesterday.
And I agree. And we've just seen that with Van Dijk's comments about Andy Robbo going.
Yeah.
He's doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, there's certain things that you have to recognize too, that there are important factors in the locker room that you give up by just moving on from players the way that some teams do. You got to recognize the fact that they do command a lot of respect that they should command as well. I would go real quick, JK. Do you believe Manchester City are capable of controlling games like they used to? Or is this a new level of Manchester City finding out? Because other things, for instance, that Man City are on a downward trajectory.
Yeah, I agree with that. They don't give me that feeling when I watch them play now. Oh, they're dangerous. I think people like David Silva, for example, he's
David Silva,
that Man City type of player, the one who controls games and keeps it ticking, and that Vincent Kompany, Aguero, De Bruyne.
He's one of the few players I wish we had on our team. We had the likes of bringing to Liverpool. I would love a David Silva.
Oh, David Silva, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And for me, De Bruyne, bro, I watched him when he left Chelsea, and I was like, okay, he's gone to Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
As soon as he gone to Wolfsburg, and I realised he supported Liverpool as a kid, it was a no-brainer for me to get him. We wasted that opportunity for him. He's waiting for us, I reckon. He would have come to us if he had the choice, my opinion. He got paid pretty well at City and stuff, but I'd rather play for a team that I supported my whole life than a team that was just going to pay me well. But they've gone downhill in certain ways. I don't know. Back in the days, people like Out Nouri, he wouldn't have got bought by them. Who else? Probably Phillips, Grealish, even maybe. You know what I mean? These type of players. Rodri is not looking the same Rodri as he was before his injury. A bit of a cliche saying that, but I don't know. He just don't look as good. Because back before his injury, bro, Rodri, Man City were losing games like they're doing now.
Yeah.
But as I said before, I'm not really worried about City. They're still good. Don't get me wrong. They're going to score goals and stuff like that. But going into this game, I'm confident, man.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. I hope everyone else out there is confident. Agreed. Money isn't everything to some players. Some players have made enough money where, you know what? It's not about the money. It's about legacy and the likes. For some, it's about brand, but others, it's about legacy. And yeah, there are some hopes that maybe that weighs into his decision making and the club's decision making as well. I am going to bring up. Let me see. First off, I'm going to bring up first. Should bring up Manchester City's team. I'll bring up Manchester City's team first, and then I'll get into what I think is going to be our lineup that we're going to bring into the fold here. I think Manchester City will go with something like this, possibly. I don't know. Maybe you have some players playing in different spots, but I think this is what we'll see. Like when it comes to who we will find in their midfield and in their lineup. Cherki is certainly a player that has been really doing well lately. Really doing well. He's been definitely lighting up the pitch a little bit. Foden's come into his own a little bit as well. But Semenyo and Cherki have really done well for them. But this is what I'm thinking they're going to go with. They'll go Foden in that pronounced KDB role, Cherki and Semenyo as their wingers. And then in the pivot, you'll have Rodri. I have O'Reilly there, but it should be Gonzalez, actually. And or at least it might be O'Reilly, but I think it's going to be Gonzalez, actually. And then because it says, let me make sure it says the right one, people. Yes. Because I have Nunez, Chuznov, Gehi, and Aït-Nouri in the back line, with obviously Donnarumma in that back lineup. City's big call is Ruben Diaz, whether he'll play or not. If he doesn't start, I would expect Kusanov to play alongside Mark Gehi. And yes, Gehi will have something to prove. He definitely will go out with something to prove against us, I think. Rodri with O'Reilly offers control, but I don't know if Rodri is I don't think Rodri is at pace with the Premier League just yet. I'm not saying he's done or he's finished. I'm just saying that he's just not at proper Premier League pace. Semenyo, Foden, Cherki bring unpredictability, I think, up front. And in Haaland, well, we all know Haaland is a beast. He's a cyborg. He is something to reckon with. And hopefully Virgil van Dijk and maybe even Konate on occasion can handle settling and controlling his actions on the pitch. It's always box office when Haaland joins as well. We all know that. Do you believe the aura around Manchester City has finally cracked? Do you think that this is just Pep kind of piecing together the team? JK.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like football changes, times change, teams change, managers change, I just feel it's the signings they've made. I don't know. They just don't suit Man City. If you think of a big team like Real Madrid, Barcelona, would Barcelona and Real Madrid buy out Nori? I don't think so. Mark Gay, maybe. Semenyo, I doubt it. The Gonzalez guy in midfield, I doubt it. Who else? Yeah, I don't know, man. I was just a bit surprised with Man City's transfers in the last 2 years or so. Cherki's a good player, don't get me wrong. If I had a choice between him and Wirtz, I'm going for Wirtz all day long. He's just not that David Silva, Aguero type of signing that Man City used to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's just not that the big shiny new player.
Shiny new player.
Do you think Marmoush is going to get a start in this one?
Well, he started the other day, got 2 goals. I think they rested Haaland.
I think that's the reason why Marmoush got the start. It's because they rested Haaland for this game.
And someone's saying, who's saying that there? Fatigued.
Mark
yeah. So, of course, he's been playing non-stop, Haaland.
Yeah.
But he'll be playing against us on Sunday. That's no, and probably Marmoush comes off the bench later on or whatever. But all in all, I think we want them to attack us. Why? Because we seem to play better against teams that try to attack us. It is the way it is. And Man City, they're not going to sit back and defend deep, have everyone behind the ball. They're not going to do that, bro.
No, they're not. Definitely not. That's. I'll go right into what I believe is going to be our lineup, and I'll start with obviously. I'll just bring up our lineup right here. I start our lineup. I think our lineup is going to be pretty much cut and dry. This is with a 4-2-3-1 as well, by the way. I would like to see us go with a 4-2-2-2, by the way, and have a little bit different presence. I would prefer to see, if it was going to be me, I would like to see a 4-2-2 and have basically Wirtz on the left and have Jones on his right, and then have Salah and Ekitike as our front two forwards. But this is if we do go the 4-2-3-1, which is a probability. And with that, is start with Ali. Everyone, obviously, we're just being honest. There hasn't been many quiet afternoons for him this season because we've seen a lot of activity against us. But when Liverpool win, it's usually because he is on his game. And I think that is why I would start Ali, obviously. This says Ekitike in goal. It's supposed to be Ali in goal. Sorry about that. But
you didn't know it's not, bro.
yeah, exactly.
So everyone's playing right back.
Everyone's playing right back. Dami Sabasalai with Frimpong and Bradley, obviously sidelined. We're going to have to definitely bring in a player that is going to be, acknowledgeable for that role. And Dami Sabasalai is probably one of the best options that we have if you don't go with the more natural fit, which is what we're saying. But then again, it is Manchester City, so it's not exactly the easiest of opponents to necessarily try out a new right back in. He is the Swiss Army knife, certainly, for this team. So it looks like we're going to be playing him at right back. It takes a really, really viable weapon out of our midfield. But it's going to put a lot of pressure on that midfield to make up the difference. And that's why I think it's an interesting case. I wish we could have two Ekitikes. That'd be fantastic. But next to him, I have Konate, who made a valiant return to the team. It's against Haaland, physicality alone isn't enough. You got to have some type of timing and bravery, concentration. So I'm thinking Konate hopefully can have that all locked in and ready for this endeavor. Next to him is Roger van Dijk. Obviously, our captain is always going to be out there representing us as long as he's healthy. And then I have Kirkes on the left. Now, some might argue that you put Robbo in this run, not because Robbo is going to bring you pace and coverage in that direction, but maybe because Kirkes did play in our last game, and also because if anything, you might be able to utilize Robbo's football IQ and the fact of the presence he brings onto the pitch. That's a question I'll leave for you in the chat, in the comment section, and I'll leave it to JK when we hear his starting 11. In the DMs, I have Ryan Gravenberch. I think that there's really few players that can contain Ryan Gravenberch when he's on form. And I think that's why we have to let him loose when it comes to this City midfield. And then next to him, I have Alexi McAllister. He is the most there are games where Liverpool really missed the old McAllister, obviously that McAllister swagger that we've come accustomed to. You can see the quality is still there, though, in my opinion, even with my eye test, not just with statistics. the touch, the awareness, the desire, I think, is the most important thing. And he's been playing within himself lately. If Liverpool are going to control spells of this match, they need him to take responsibility the level of which he did before it being last year. In front of him, I have Florian Wirtz. Obviously, I have him at the 10 role. I want to really, really make Florian Wirtz understand that, yes, we get that you've played on the wing, that you sometimes get played on that left side, but I would like to see us really, if we're going to go for a 4-2-3-1, I want to see him in that DM role, or excuse me, in that 10 role. I think he has become a cornerstone for our team and a beautiful addition, I think, that a lot of us never gave up hope on. And then Mohamed Salah, obviously Salah versus City has always been box office, 13 goals against them, a goal and assist in both league meetings last season. He's been, like most teams, a nightmare to deal with. I understand that this is a different Salah that we're dealing with, but he's still dangerous. He's still capable. Given the right time and right amount of effort on his part, we could see something beautiful happen. I'm hoping it does. The question is, does he have still one big moment in him? I think he's got two. All right. So other side of the pitch, I have Cody Gakpo. Now, Cody Gakpo, I think, is something that is going to be a question mark for some. I get that some people don't really rate Cody the way that others do. But I think the creativity of Wirtz and Ekitike has taken some of the pressure off Gakpo, to be honest with you. I'm hoping he's recognizing that. I'm hoping he's not overthinking things, trying to perform in essence, because I know it hasn't stopped the scrutiny. He's been still scapegoated, but I think his performances haven't hit the level Liverpool need, but I think that they can with patience. And I understand it's wearing thin for others, if it is at all there present at all for some. But this is one of those games where effort isn't enough. He needs to impact on the pitch. I think he has that ability to do so. And finally, Ekitike, one of the few bright points of this team, number 22. He was electric last weekend, 2 goals, constant movement. I think the confidence is just overflowing in this guy. Now he's up to 15 goals for the season. City's defense hasn't looked entirely settled all season long, and if there's space to attack, Ekitike needs to find it, and I believe he will. He's a genuine problem for them. Options off the bench are limited, but experienced. I'm going to go with Gomez, Robbo, Endo, Jones, and Chiesa as my 5 substitutions to look to get playing time if necessary in this game. What would you go with your starting lineup, by the way? Some are saying, for instance, Mark A just agreed with Hylor's comment, but some are saying that the Kirkes-Gakpo relationship is just not one that is presenting us real results. What do you think about that? And do you have a different 11 that you predict Slot will start? Not your lineup, but what is the predicted lineup you think Slot will go with? That question's to you, JK.
Can you repeat that, bro?
What is the lineup? What's your starting lineup that you think that Arne will go with? And do you have the same issues as Mark and Hylor do with Kirkes and Gakpo, and it maybe not being a good relationship, a good pairing of the two?
Yeah. I've seen Gabko sort of in the recent displays that he's trying to get more crosses in and be a bit more of a team player. I've noticed that Kirk has sort of landed. He's sort of settled in now. I don't really worry about him no more like I used to. And he's sort of doing what he wants to do now. He's attacking. He's trying to get crosses in because he's realised he's doing it Arne Slot's way, and he ain't doing him no favours. I'll definitely go with defense-wise, goalkeeper Alisson, of course. If Joe Gomez is sort of ready to play, but it's a bit of a risk there because it's Man City, big game, and he ain't really sort of come back into the team, and it will be his first game back from injury. Do you want to risk it? So hence why I think Szoboszlai will start there.
Especially if he has to go against Semenyo. I mean, that's not an easy assignment.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. So good. Szoboszlai there. Kanate, Virgil, Kirkes. Midfield, Gravenberch, McAllister, Wirtz, and then we have to go Gakpo, bro. We've got no choice, you know what I mean? On the left. So Gakpo left, Salah right, Ekatike up top. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you can't use, as much as I want to see Rio get minutes, you can't use Rio in the capacity of thinking that you're going to start him over Gakpo. I don't think this coach ever does that, particularly in a game like of this gravity, I should say. But it would be nice. It would be nice to see him get some playing time. He could be a late option, depending on what the team or the score line is looking like. But yeah, right. There's not really that much. There's really not that many options that you can go with when it comes to a different lineup. You really can't go for different.
No, you got Jones and Chiesa, Rio, but I can't see any of them three sort of starting. Yeah.
Well, we're just over the 90th minute. Is there anything you wanted to bring up or talk on before we end our discussion about this preview? I know tomorrow we're going to have a fun show. Tomorrow we're going to have a fun show in that we are going to be looking at a show so the club did a breakdown of the combined 11, and some of the choices that they made were absolutely head scratchers, but or at least some of the commentary they provided is certainly laughable, I would say. What we're going to do is we're going to critique it. We're going to break it down. We're also going to give our conclusions as to what is a proper combined 11. They didn't have a representative of Liverpool on their panel. They had a Manchester City supporter, a Chelsea supporter, a Spurs supporter, and an Arsenal supporter rating a combined 11 for Manchester City and Liverpool. So with that said, I'm going to say that we're going to do this right and at least give Liverpool a real presence, a real backing in the conversation by breaking it down. So if you want to at least give an idea of what they said, you can go check out their episode on the club. I'm not trying to say I'm not trying to advertise for them, but that is what we're going to be going over, making our own combined 11 basically, and giving the arguments as to why we think it would be a solid combined 11. Is there anything else though you want to talk about?
Right, I'm just looking at the other games tomorrow. We've got United have got Spurs at home. Spurs need to do the whole Premier League a favour and beat United because they're doing my head in now with this carrot thing. Then you got Chelsea Wolves in the other game. Actually, Wolves at home.
I think Sunderland.
Wolves, they're going to get a result.
Yeah.
Arsenal.
Arsenal, Sunderland, and Arsenal is tough. That's tough. That's going to be real tough. If it was at Sunderland, it'd be one thing. Because I think Arsenal. I think they lose to Sunderland or drew. Yeah, they drew. They got a goal late in that game. Yeah.
So you got them games. So the Liverpool game is late. The last game on Sunday. So we got to make sure we win.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Very simple. Yeah, and also, Trudon, you are correct. That combined 11 is just a Premier League 11, not an all-time 11. They did false advertise because obviously Manchester City doesn't have that storied of a history beyond, I'd say, the midway point of the Premier League is when Manchester City started to emerge as a juggernaut with very very capable pieces at their fold. It's very interesting because a lot of people end up taking away from that. If you were to take both the combined history of both clubs, it wouldn't even be a combined 11. It would just be 11 Liverpool players, I think. But you know, but all
But
the
Man
same,
City have
we're
had
just going to the Premier League.
good players.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They have
but
had
they've
good
had
players.
some good players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if any of them would get into an all-time combined team because Aguero, he's the only one who can push it. Company, nah. Who else is there? Kevin De Bruyne. You know what I mean? So yeah, David Silva, of course. Yeah, Torres. They've had some good players.
They
Man
have,
City.
and that's why I'm interested to have the conversation. They've had some good players, and I just thought that it was sad. One, all respect to Rory Jennings, but the person that was nominated to be giving the Liverpool perspective or the Liverpool to be the advocate for Liverpool in the conversation was supposed to be Rory Jennings, a Chelsea supporter. Now, whether you support Chelsea or support another club, that can be argued as to whether you're going to give a full-hearted approach towards giving the players that you're trying to argue for a real good, real proper send off. But the reality of it is that this guy also said that basically Virgil van Dijk is not one of the greatest center halves of all time. So and he said that he's not even one of the greatest Premier League center halves of all time. That automatically,
to me,
I'm not going to take away. Let's not take too much away from tomorrow's show because it should be a fun show. But that's the reason why I would say we need to do this. Go ahead.
Peter Schmeichel is probably the best ever goalkeeper in the Premier League for me.
Okay.
Peter Schmeichel, he's a Man United goalkeeper, bro. So for me, I'm not doing that bias thing. Oh, I don't like Man United, so I'm not going to pick Peter Schmeichel. It is what it is, and that's what everything is agenda driven now. Who else is there? Like Roy Keane, DM for me. If I'm going to pick an all-time Premier League greatest team, I'm picking Roy Keane in that.
Right. So Trudon is saying Peter. For instance, he's saying Peter Cech over Schmeichel. Okay,
Peter Schmeichel.
That could be an argument. That could certainly be an argument. I think it depends also what your conversation. Again, we're going to have this conversation tomorrow. I'm just going to pretense it with the fact of bring your arguments as to why you feel the particular players that you're trying to argue for are should be in the conversation, or at least be a part of or a nominee for that position. Again, you're talking about actual Chelsea players and Arsenal players, but it is, again, you said Schmeichel. For Trudon, it's Peter Cech. For me, I think Alisson is the best goalkeeper I've seen in Premier League history, primarily because I just think that not only is he a dynamic shot stopper, but I also think that he is a incredible player. He is incredible to have the ball at his feet. I don't know if Schmeichel or Peter Cech would be someone that you would rely on to bring that kind
with their feet.
Just sweeper keepers, basically. But if you're talking about shot stopper, Schmeichel, Peter Cech, top world class, absolute gems when it came to goaltending. So yeah, we're gonna have that conversation tomorrow. I think it's gonna be a fun one. Hopefully you enjoy it. A little something just to just to get the drums beating as we get closer to an important Sunday, a very important Sunday. Look, this Sunday is going to be a massive Sunday, but not only is it going to be massive because it has Liverpool and City, it's massive because here in America, at least, it's going to have the Super Bowl is this weekend. So it has got some competition for. Luckily, it's at an hour where it won't be competing for against the Super Bowl. So those of us can watch both. So I have
what teams are in that? What's the teams?
Team I don't care about and A, and team I don't care about B. I'm just joking.
That's because he said the
same. It's the Seattle Seahawks that will be facing off against the New England Patriots. That's who are the two teams in the Super Bowl. And then they got the Winter Olympics kicking off too.
Yeah, man,
really, which is weird too. I mean, like the Winter Olympics are kicking off, and I say it's weird because wait, let me see if I can do something real quick. So
yeah, the north of Italy is the south of the Alps.
For instance, where I'm at right now, it's 27 degrees Celsius. So it is weird to be talking about. It does sound weird to me, at least, to be talking about Winter Olympics. We had
-10 the other day.
Oh my!
This has been when you look in Europe, this has been a rough winter. It's been a hard winter.
Yeah, that's tough. That's really, really tough. But yes.
But UK's winter is a bit more. I don't know. It just hits different. It's just I don't know. I don't really like England's winters because it's
I bet.
You got winds.
Yeah, the wind and the rain and all
horrible.
that. It's like it's so cold that you get that kind of like sleet style rain. That's not fun at all. But yeah, we're gonna be breaking down that combined 11 tomorrow, just for a fun little episode, just to kind of give you a breather before we get into what's going to be a very, very action-packed Sunday. And obviously we'll have the results of the Manchester United game by that time. We'll also don't think will we have the results of. No, we won't have the results because I think there's only 2 games on Sunday, which is Crystal Palace, Brighton, and Liverpool. Yeah, Brighton and Liverpool are only 2 games, home games that are on Sunday. So, but we will have an idea as to what the league is looking like with Villa taking on Bournemouth at Bournemouth. We're going to have Arsenal taking on, obviously, hosting Sunderland. And we'll also obviously have Manchester United hosting Spurs. So it's going to be a good Saturday for football. I'm interested to see how it all unfolds. And by the time I go live, I'll go live most likely right at the conclusion of, let's see, I'll go live after the conclusion of the Villa game. Newcastle and Brentford will be playing on in the background for me as I go live. So it'll be fun. Hopefully you'll be a part of that conversation. JK, shout out to Dara, by the way, for joining us earlier.
Yeah, bless up, Dara.
JK, what about yourself? Got something you want to say to the people or anything you want to bring up real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah, so for me, every Premier League game is important because we need rhythm going into the Champions League games and the FA Cup game we go against Brighton as well. And we need to win something this season because we spent a lot of money in the summer. So having the league is an important thing because if we don't win the Champions League, we're not playing Champions League football next season. So we've got to make sure that we keep the rhythm of the Premier League. It's an important league still. You know, like Quasi asked us the question today: would you willing to offer for the beneficial of the Premier League that we lose and City win the league, and Arsenal don't? And I was like, nah, I'd rather win the
Not
game.
even close.
And
I saw that thumbnail. Yeah, not even close. We have revenge.
if it was Man United,
I have revenge on my mind. I have revenge on my mind
for that 3-0 they gave us earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing I'm talking about in the locker room is that reminding them that we have a score to settle, and we should play that level.
You know.
Yep.
And also that let's teach Gay he chose the wrong club.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on in this game. As I've said before, early on in the show that Man City are not the same sort of lion they were back in the days.
No.
So we don't know what we're going to get with these lot. I think Bernardo Silva's on the borderline of not playing. Doku as well. He might not be playing. So them two guys. But they've still got enough players to sort of come into the team anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to this game. I always look forward to the big games, especially this one at Anfield.
I'm hoping that it proves us good to go. Good to go.
Look, we've had a week off. We ain't had this in a while where we've had a whole week sort of for this game, where City had a game in the week, second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-finals. So we've had that week off. Hopefully it will do us a favour. It will give Virgil, Gravenberch, Salah, all these guys a good few days rest and get into this game, man. It's a big game, bro. The whole world's going to be watching. Let's just hope tomorrow Tottenham do well. I can't believe I'm saying that, but hey, yeah. And Wolves.
All right. Well, people, we're going to leave it there. Please do. Oh, you know what? One thing before we even bounce. We got to always do this. Predictions, of course. Get our predictions in here real quick. What are your predictions?
I'm going 2-0, bro.
Well, great. Okay.
Because the TV said had two numbers on there. It was 2-0.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll go with that. Good. Every time you ask me for predictions, I'll go with what the numbers around me are saying.
Definitely. That's good. No. I believe in numerology immensely. Agreed. 2-1 Liverpool.
No clean sheet, Red Armchair. I think we defensively played better against better teams. Nice one, Helio, for that clean sheet. When you look at the games this season, Real Madrid didn't score, Arsenal didn't score, City did in the other ones. Inter Milan didn't score. So in the big games, we sort of defend better. Look, it's all about concentration levels. Yeah. It's all about the concentration levels. And the thing is, if Arsenal lose at home against Sunderland, the media are going to be, Man City, you need to win this. It's going to be a bit of a mad one. So a lot of results tomorrow happening is going to sort of come into that game against us, United, and this, that, and the other. What's your prediction for the Liverpool game?
My prediction is 2-1. Same with Red Armchair supporter.
2-1.
Hyler
Same
has a
as Red
2-1
Armchair.
too. Yeah.
As long as
we get 3 points, it's important. But
what do you reckon of the United Tottenham game? I just feel Tottenham going to beat them, bro. Because this Carrick thing now has lasted a few games. They're doing my head in. Tottenham, how they played against us, really rough and that. I want them to do that against them tomorrow. We'll see if they do that, but no.
Okay. Yeah. Red Armchair supporter says
Desmond.
Desmond. No. Well, he said 2-1 Liverpool.
For the United Tottenham game, he means Desmond.
Yeah. That I could deal with.
I can see that.
I can deal with that.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could deal with that. Yeah. As long as we get the 3 points, I'm happy as well. That's certainly my state of mind. But hey, if we could do one where we could get we can kind of put a dampener on Manchester City and keep our streak alive of games of beating them at home and win, and possibly do it with a little nice little 3-0 of our own. I'd be even happy about that as well. So we shall see. We shall see. I think, what was it? 2-0 was the highest score I think I saw so far. 2-0.
I've got a funny feeling Guardiola's going to leave at the end of the season. And there's a few players available, managers at the end. Maybe Enrique or Alonso even. They could go after Alonso. I don't think...
You know what? I hope they go for Pep Linders. How about that? They'll keep it that way.
Oh, imagine that, bro. They give it to Pep Linders, man. Imagine going back 3 years and we're all talking about Klopp and Pep Linders was with us and stuff. Oh, in a few years' time, Pep Linders is going to be managing for Man City against us.
Yeah.
It'd be like, what? Like, you're talking...
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about there? You know, that's how mad football is now.
Yeah, they say, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about, Willis?
What you talking about, Willis? You know what I mean? But look, this is another thing I would have. I would have a picture of Pep Linders with his book in hand in the changing rooms for that game. Say, listen, lads, this guy's on Man City side today. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the team talk.
Yeah.
Pep Linders is at Man City's bench, bro. I can't believe what's going on.
It's the state of the world, man. It's the world we live in right now. Man. People go to teams. You got players leaving their teams, go to Real Madrid and the likes, then regretting it. You got former managers going on and failing at their head coaching jobs and crawling back to Manchester City to give them an edge to beat the former club.
Give them a head start, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to give them a head start and give them an edge against the team that you say you loved. Go ahead.
And that made him put him on the big stage. So, but that just shows me the mentality of Pep Linders. Like, when I've never clicked with him anyway, and when he did his book and stuff, I was like, put self publicity and stuff. And that Man City sort of move just put that cherry on top of the cake, where he just confirmed everything I thought about the lad. Red arm check. Can you imagine it? Slot, slide tackle, Pep Linders just before the halftime whistle. Have that.
Yeah. Have at it.
He would get a lot of respect for that if he did that on the shady. So it's winter, it's slippery.
It would be. I'm very interested to see what the response is going to be when he enters the pitch. I'm very interested.
There's going to be a few views.
A few. I'm hoping there's a cascade of boos. He deserves it.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, look, people, we are going to end this show there. We appreciate each and every one of you for sticking along with this one. We weren't going to necessarily have a Friday show, but like I said, I didn't have a Thursday show. I had to take care of some business at home, so I wanted to make sure that I got this preview, more than a preview, in. And we'll have a fun episode tomorrow. Hopefully you'll join us with that. Definitely pass on the word. You could do your homework by watching the other show to get a good reference point of what they're dealing with or what they were speaking on. And you can understand why I thought it was such a necessary thing to do on having our own. And until then, hey, JK, you want to say peace out?
Peace out, people. Red Arm, Jay Helio, everyone else in the chat. Good to see you guys, man. Trudon,
definitely,
of course.
Always a blessing to see the OGs and the new people, the new names as well, the OGs of the channel. Certainly the rivals and the neutrals, welcome as well. It's always good to have you guys out here. Okay, I will check him out. Let me make sure. Hold on, let me write that down before we bounce out here. I'll put that name down for you. Whoops. Where's this thing always wants to? 1 second. Let me put this name down. Definitely got it down. All right, I'll check out Moretto. Big up to each every one of you. Always remember that you'll never walk alone on this channel. And especially, let me say this: up the Reds each and every time. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care and enjoy your weekend.